Welcome to Chicago Athletic Association's storytelling series and audio library. The hotel and past club has been known for its rich history and iconic guests. While so many memories have been lost over the past 125 years, it's never too late to preserve our own history. Each episode gives an inside look into the experiences, moments, and memories that have shaped the speakers, their work, and their lives. Enjoy their stories and look out for upcoming storytelling events on chicagoathleticevents.com. Hey guys. Can you guys hear this? Great. This is actually our first storytelling series at the Chicago Athletic Association, where we're going to be featuring different cultural icons here every 2 weeks. And this week we have Kevin Warwick from the Chicago Reader.
Hi, everybody.
And we have Fred and Toody from Dead Moon. So thank you so much for coming. And I want to say thank you to Brent from Empty Bottle for helping set this up.
Hey guys, I'm going to give this to you. I guess you get to share.
Cool.
Thanks, Anna. Thanks for coming, everybody. Like Anna said, this is our first storytelling series, and we've been honored to have Fred and Toody Cole from Dead Moon here. Thanks for coming.
It's great. Happy to be in town.
You guys played last night at the Bottle?
Yep, early show.
About the 5 p.m. show. Get out there at 7:30 p.m.
A bit strange, but hey,
Right.
at least it's dark out that early now.
Yeah. So how's the duo setting going? Are you enjoying it?
I love it. It's really fun.
Do you like sitting down?
Great. I like sitting down because it's hard to stand up.
Right now, that's what he needs to do, okay? After his bumper shoot fiasco, it's like he's not ready to stand up and strap that 25-pound guitar around him and, stand up for an hour and wail.
Fred, you look great, though. Fred looks great. You really do. Thank you. Absolutely. But I mean, as far as just the stripped downness of it, no drummer, do you guys get in the groove pretty well?
Yeah, we just started kind of doing it as a lark, and then after we did a few shows and it was going over, it's very relaxing for us, way less stressful. We're just traveling by ourselves. You don't have a third or fourth or fifth person to worry about their needs, their wants, what they want to do right now, and how you're hanging them up and everything. It's just, I don't know, it just allows us to really be ourselves and just really have fun on stage. It's way, it's still intense, but it's a different kind of intense.
Yeah, for sure. And it just seems like it's the arc of the band, the arc of Dead Moon and you guys as a unit, just to be there on stage by yourselves, playing those songs. It's kind of poignant.
No, I'm having a great time because we can go to the casinos.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
And it's...
Where are you heading after this?
Council Bluffs for
for
3 days. Yeah. Playing Keno.
All right on. So that's great. The duo setting seems to be working out really well. I was at the show, and I guess just getting it back to the beginning of the band starting everything. Can you just, not even Dead Moon, I know the Rats, and when you were being, Fred was just I'm going to teach her how to play bass. Yeah. Is that basically how it started? Fred was
Yeah, he just finished doing Zipper and some other projects like that where he was lead singing. He'd done King Bee, and that was the first time he was actually playing guitar live on stage. And then after that kind of started to go away, he was just like, man, I've had it with bass players, okay? I'm teaching you how to play bass. So I thought, yeah, okay, cool. I'll go along with it. I thought he'd give it up or just... It would be one of those whims.
Did you ever think you would
give
it up?
That would go away. No, I had no clue that this would be the end result. Happy as hell that it happened this way because I love it. At first it was just so scary, and 2 weeks in I know about 4 notes, and he's like, "Okay, cool. I booked us a show." It was just a house party, but it was just I was just, no, I can't. No, I'm not ready. He goes, "Man, it's punk rock. How hard is it?" Bum, 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 bum. Which is pretty much the truth. So, but yeah, it took a long time to get really comfortable, and then once we started Dead Moon, I pretty much hit my stride with playing bass and being on stage and just having a blast doing it and touring and all the rest of it.
And yeah, I was gonna, bouncing off that too, and just starting Dead Moon, and after you'd raised the kids and everything, were they supportive of the process, I imagine?
Well, they kind of had to be, yeah. They were. I mean, what was cool in the early punk rock days of Portland, it was pretty much just this camaraderie of artists, musicians, whatever. Everybody kind of chipped in what they happened to be good at, and we basically just kind of pooled our resources and put on our own shows and found venues that were willing to have at least one punk rock show before they said, that's it, never again. So most of them were all underages, and most of the other bands, I mean, we were like the old guys in the scene. And so a lot of the shows our kids were able to come to, and which was really cool.
Work the merch.
Yeah, and they loved it. And then when we'd go up to Seattle, most of the time we'd take them up there rather than leave them at home with somebody else and just kind of make a family adventure out of the whole band thing. So, you know, it was cool. Yeah.
I guess just, you know, this is a thing you guys always get pegged with. I understand you always get pegged with it, and you're kind of like, well, it was just the cheapest way to do things. You know, the whole DIY the whole DIY mentality of it, and just like, you know, I unknown passage of documentary, you're just kind of like,
well, most of what we've done has been out of necessity. You know, I mean, I'd like to say DIY was great, and it was because it's the only way we could have done it. We didn't really have a lot of record companies wanting us. So, you know, and a lot of that was just because we were unable or didn't want to conform to the, you know, the ways that we had to do with corporate stuff. So.
And you're handy as it is, right?
Huh?
You're handy as it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, real handy. So anyway, no, but things worked out just perfect, you know. Just things fell into place, and it just keeps happening. It's like we're just really lucky. Since we've met, it's just like, you know, our luck is phenomenal. It really is, I gotta admit.
I mean, wasn't the meeting lucky as well?
Yeah, totally.
Pure fate. I mean, honestly. So, 'cause they didn't even expect to even stop in Portland, except they ran out of gas. So they kind of had to. And then they were looking around just to play a couple of shows impromptu, pass the hat, whatever, just to get enough gas money to bail off to Canada. So it was a real amazing thing that we ever met at all. No, well, I was just a volunteer there. This was just a coffee house. This was all ages again. I mean, I was like 17 years old. You know, he was 18.
Like that?
Pretty much, yeah.
You had to feel him out, though.
There was just this, I don't know, electric aura type weirdo thing going on with both of us that we didn't really talk about till later.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it was pretty much like, whoa, you know, spooky. I really can't explain it.
No, that's great. And was this coming off? You were coming up from San Francisco, right?
No, well, yeah, we left Las Vegas, and then we were supposed to be playing a gig in San Francisco with the Yardbirds.
I love this story. Tell this story.
So we get to the Fillmore, and tell the guy, yeah, okay, we're the Weeds from Vegas, and we're playing with the Yardbirds. The guy goes, man, no way, get out of here. You're not booked. We had this stupid guy that was a disc jockey in Vegas tell us that he was hanging out with Haley Mills and that he booked us with the Yardbirds. I mean, this guy was so full of it, you know what I mean? So anyway, we went to San Francisco to play this gig, which wasn't even a gig that was happening, and we didn't have any money beyond just getting to San Francisco. Had enough gas to get to Portland. We ran out of gas there. Went into the club that she was sweeping the floors in, auditioned for the guy. He wanted to be our manager, and just took us on from there. We didn't have any money. He put us up, got us gigs, and everything started happening from there. And then we just got based in Portland. So
you got based in Portland because you ran out of gas.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I met Toody, and you know, he booked us in this Reed College place. And that was the first time that I really saw her. The other time I just got a glance of her. But she was coming out of the club, a crowd of about 200 people. And I just saw this, it's the weirdest thing, but a halo above her head. I'm not kidding. She comes out like a light, and I just picked her out of the crowd and I went, whoa. And then I realized it was the same girl that was sweeping the floors, you know? So it's like, okay, let's go. Yeah. Then I tried to talk her into buying me $1 dinner at the bowling alley after the gig.
Wasn't having it?
And she says, oh, no way. No way, right? Whatever. And I just knew, okay, cool. You know, because I had, at that point, I was talking chicks into buying.
Yeah. He did not have the best reputation, okay, trust me. And it was very much,
His reputation
poor little,
preceded him.
poor little Catholic girl who ain't going there. Okay, no, I don't go there. And, and here's all these other, cheerleader types, that are buying into clothes and sweaters and bringing groceries over to the band house. And, it's just like, no, Don't make it that easy.
Along with the, going back to the whole DIY thing, I'm not going to try to harp on it because I know you guys hear these questions constantly, but there has to be, at some point, regardless of it being a necessity, where it's like you understand your pull in that culture, right? Like you are aware of it.
He's deep. You understand that. A lot of it was just the time was right. It was just, we happened to kind of start it a little bit in our town in Portland, but everybody was doing it in their own way. Like I say, whether you were throwing gigs, drawing posters, taking photographs, videotaping, documenting the whole thing, which we were lucky we had that kind of thing going on in Portland. There's a lot of documentation, old tapes of bands, recordings that were done in conjunction with people that started recording studios, and it was just, it's kind of a really expanded experience for us. With us, we had our music store, so we were in the position to kind of provide inexpensive instruments or loan stuff out, give guys credit, whatever it took for them to get their, get it together and get bands happening. And a place to meet and greet, find each other, find your bandmates, all of that. So it was all very contributing, but a lot of it at some point just became about being able to control your own project and your own, especially for Fred, your vision of what you want it to be, how you wanted it to sound. And since that was a bit abrasive, he's always not used effects on guitars, no reverb on our voices. It's just kind of in your face. So it's a love-hate relationship. You either dig what we're doing, or you're just like, oh my God. I mean, it doesn't quite, it doesn't quite sound homogenized like a lot of bands that are way more acceptable. So we've always not really fought that. We've just embraced it. It's like, hey, if you dig it, great. If you don't, there's lots of other out there people are trying to do, and hey, they'd love to have you in their audience. But a lot of it was about the control. So it's somebody just not telling you exactly where you had to be, how you had to look, what kind of songs you were going to do, how they needed to be.
Because Fred was used to that, right? Fred, you were used to that happening earlier on, or no?
He has a very big problem with authority, period, okay? And no, not really. But, I mean, at different points, like in the Lollipop Shop, yeah, that happened. And after that, he was like, never again, not doing that. Here, let's take you in, get your hair cut, and put you in a nice little pink turtleneck sweater, and, give you a name you absolutely hate, and go for an audience you're not looking for, I mean, these guys were basically like, a younger version of the Stones at the time, and here all of a sudden they, their management wants to make them into a teeny bopper bubblegum band, it's like...
The Lollipop Shop name came off of what? Because the Weeds.
Their manager,
too close to the
their
Seeds,
manager Tim Hudson came up with it, and he was also managing the Seeds at the time. And the Weeds was one of those names. There was probably 15, 20 other bands around the U.S. that were using a variation or that name. So that kind of made sense, but that was not their choice, and he's still embarrassed to this day about all of that. Okay.
And after you guys had met, and before Dead Moon, you had kids, you had started a family. Another one of the mythical stories is about your trip to Alaska, and the Alaskan trip. It's just kind of, it epitomizes the whole do-it-yourself mentality.
I really
really
had it. I just absolutely said I was getting out of the music business.
Right.
Totally. So I got Toody, and we had 2 kids at that time. We were like 20, I think.
Yeah, 20.
And we bought this old fire marshal's station wagon, which is a 1955 Pontiac. And sold everything we had. We paid $150 for the car, and I think we had $200 or something like that stashed to get up to Alaska to where my grandmother lived in Spinard. So we were going to go up there, get jobs, and just, work regular jobs. So as it turned out, all the front end of the car fell out on the Alcan Highway. We went over a cliff. We thought we were dead. We just missed a tree or a big telephone pole, and this biker comes up behind us, and about 5 minutes later, he goes, "Man, are you guys alive?" Because we went over a cliff that was about 60 to 70 feet into sand dunes, into sand dunes, straight over the top. Steering went out completely. So this guy comes up at the top and he's going, "Are you guys all right down there?" And I go, yeah, we're fine. Couldn't believe we're alive, And he goes, "Man, you've been dropping parts for about the last 6 miles out of your..." And he goes, "I picked them up. I've been stopping and picking them up for you guys, right?" All the tie rods and everything came out of the front end of the car. So me and him, yeah, we didn't have it.
Well, he knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
After a while, the steering wheel, it was just spinning.
So we put the tie rods and everything back in. We were missing all kinds of bolts. We used coat hangers and all kinds of weird shit. We tied everything together, and I could drive it at about 5 miles an hour. And this is when the Alcan was still all gravel. So we got it going, and you'd have to turn the wheel, like flip it, and to just make the tires barely go this way, and then flip it back the other way, blah, blah, blah. So we got all the way up to Whitehorse, and then the fuel pump went out at that point. Yeah, we broke that out of that, and Judd came with this great big huge thing. Anyway, it was crazy. So we homesteaded on 100 acres on Fox Lake, which is...
Where you put your flag down, right? And you're like, "This is my land."
Yeah, but you go in, we did it legally. Yeah.
Yeah, this is when they were trying to, add on to the population in the Yukon territories, and so it wasn't closed off to to foreigners for them. I think it is now, but you had to go in and stake your claim, and I can't remember. Anyway, do a bunch of paperwork, and basically, if you worked the land or owned the property or did something with it for X amount of years, then it was yours. I don't remember what the actual terms were, but yeah.
Build a house here.
Well, yeah, we decided to do that, and then his mother and sisters, we were writing back and forth, and they heard about what we were doing, and they all thought it was so great that they cashed in some little policy or something that they all had and sent us, I don't know, a couple $1,000 or something. So we had some money to do something with, because otherwise we were just going to work our way and whatever, freaking out about the winter coming, and then when it snows on his birthday, which is August 28th, okay, then okay, we better get on it here. We got 2 babies that need to be like inside where you can build a fire, because we're just living in a tent. But it's been one of the most amazing and memorable adventures of our lives. It was something I'm really glad that we did.
And you ended up eventually going back down to Portland over Christmas?
Yeah, we were both really homesick, so he just really wanted to surprise me and my mom and my dad and my brothers and sisters. So we just went into town one day, and we literally left with just what we had with us. He goes, "Hey, how'd you like to go home for Christmas?" I go, "Really? Kidding?" He goes, "No, let's go." Drove for 3 days straight, and I will never forget the look on my mom's face when she opened the front door. It was priceless. But yeah, and then when we tried to go back...
72 hours
straight?
To drive straight through and it was all the roads were iced, and we had ball tires on the pickup, and these truckers kept giving me speed all the way down. So I'm just lit up, and I'm going, "Oh yeah, I'm fine, Titty," blah, 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 blah. And we get all the way down to Portland, open up, and nobody knew we were coming. Her mom opens up the front door and just goes, "Oh my God." She never thought she'd see us again, honestly. It's pretty amazing.
And there you stayed. Oh, I mean, when did you guys actually...
Well, no, we actually tried to go back, and this is 1970. So yeah, everything we had left everything up there. But yeah, at the border, they claimed that we lied to them because we never did make it to Alaska. So they had no record of us leaving Canada, coming back in. We just entered Canada. It's like anybody else that's not leaving the U.S., okay? We were basically illegal aliens at that point, and they were convinced because of his age that he was dodging the draft. He really wasn't, because we had 2 kids and that made you exempt at that point. But so anyway, they refused us entry and said, yeah, well, hey, you can fill out the paperwork and send it to Ottawa and wait for 1.5 years, and if they'll say yes, we'll let you through. So we said, okay, that's it. We wrote to our friends up there and said, hey, go out to the place, take what you can use. Oh, yeah, yeah. No, that's our next cream dream. We're talking about taking a trip back up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a guy we met in New York is running a festival that he does every year up there in Seward, and he figures he can line her and me up to go up and do a duo thing all the way up through Canada and Alaska.
Is there good casinos on the way up there?
I don't think so, but I've always had this bucket list dream to take the ferry from either Portland or Seattle that goes all the way up to Alaska, which is supposed to be amazing. I've never been in Alaska myself. So, and to actually be able to do that as part of this trip, and then be able to take our car with us, and then drive back down the Alcan and go back by Fox Lake again. See how it's changed, how the White Horse has changed in a couple of years.
That's basically. What year was that?
A couple decades.
What year was that?
We were up there in 70.
Okay.
1970.
And so once you went up and you came back, and then that's when you settled in Portland. But you moved. When did you guys build the compound out? And how do you pronounce it?
Oh, Clackamas?
Yeah.
That was not till 93.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we did all kinds of stuff in between.
And well, what was going on in between there, basically?
Okay, what was in between?
Oh God, all kinds of bands and moving all over the place. We lived in L.A. and San Francisco for a bit, and Sacramento for a bit. And then kept coming back to Portland.
Yeah, what was the draw that kept bringing you back to the Northwest? What was that draw? I mean, just like...
It just feels like home. I mean, Fred was born up in Tacoma, Washington, so he's a Northwest native as well. And we just basically traveled around like gypsies until our daughter Amanda was old enough to go to school. And that's when we were still in LA, so she spent first grade down there. And then at some point it was just like, yeah, man. You know, Fred remembers his mom was single and had to move around a lot, so he had to be the new kid at school, like, way too many times. He's like, I'm not putting my kids through that. Okay, we're planted. He started a guitar shop first with one of his old bandmates from the Lollipop Shop, and then that went away. That's when we went down to LA, and when we came back, it was just like, hey, we started a guitar shop together. Just figured, hey.
That was part of the guitar shop in Portland.
Yeah, that was Captain Wizzigo's.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the compound that you basically built by hand on Clackamas, right?
Yeah, that's Tombstone,
which was a general store, and it was a music shop and everything like that too. So I guess take me through just the beginning of Dead Moon, if you can, since I feel like so many people were.
Beginning of Dead Moon.
Well, we were on one of our. I was on a rampage of just doing country. I had it with rock, so I was doing a Western Front and all these projects with part of them with Toody, and we were recording a bunch of crap. And anyway, we got bored with that, and we went to Reno and spent about a month down in Reno running around gambling and playing all over the place. Actually, we spent the whole summer there. Yeah, and then decided that we were going to come back to town and start a rock and roll band. So we came back and I thought, well, let's find out about Andrew Loomis, because we never met him, just seen him play. So we came back, and his brother was working at Satirica, and they used to look totally alike. So I was convinced his brother was...
They're Irish twins. They're like 1.5 years apart.
Yeah, okay. So I was convinced that his brother Matt was Andrew. So I told Matt, who doesn't play, said, hey man, you want to come out and jam with me and Judy on some country stuff or something? And he goes, okay. And he didn't want to say no, so he got a hold of Andrew and says, man, Fred Cole came down here and asked me if I wanted to come out and play drums, I think. I think he thinks I was you. So Andrew got a hold of us and goes, yeah, Matt said blah blah blah. We didn't even know. So
sent Andrew anyway.
yeah, right. So we got together with Andrew and we tried playing some country, and Andrew couldn't catch country at all at that point. So he says, okay, well let's just play some regular old rock and roll stuff. And that's what we started out doing, and just covers. I go, man, I've had it playing with originals because we don't go anywhere. Let's just play some covers and get some regular club gigs, and see how that goes. So our first gig, we went out and opened up for a comedy act. They had a Monday night comedy show with like 9 comedians that would come in, and they said, yeah, if you guys want to play, you can play after the comedians are done. So we had to wait through all these guys, really bad, okay? And it was our first gig, and finally we get done. The place is completely empty except for like one person, and we're going, yeah, okay. So that's what we played with our first gig. Was one guy. He paid $2, and we played our, I don't know, half-hour set we had, and that was our debut.
For as many times as you get sick of country, sick of rock, like what made Dead Moon, what made you not be sick of it?
What made us not be sick of it?
Yeah.
I just got inspired to start writing again,
constantly.
A lot of stuff. So, and that was cool, So, and I was recording everything at our house, experimenting with some of the weirdest, putting Tootie's bass amp in the bathtub, and in a separate room. I had stuff ran all over these things, man. It's like I thought, oh, this is okay. This is gotta work out, somehow.
What made you experiment with putting her bass in the bathtub?
It just sounded like a good idea because it would was it Billy Childish had tried it, but anyway, the fact that it's surrounding it causes almost like an echo kind of a thing, which is pretty cool, But anyway, we had.
For me, with Dead Moon, it was really that it was like we finally hit on the magic combination. Mm-hmm. Just working with Andrew.
Andrew was the piece.
He's such a character. Oh my God, it's just like it was just fun. And we just clicked together, and we just seemed to just be able to key off one another and read each other's minds, and it was just magical right off the get-go. So that's what it meant for me. People used to be amazed that we'd both be playing with our eyes closed and just barely miss each other, not. I wouldn't, I've decked him a couple times in the head with my bass, but he did the same with sticks. But just playing that tight and that close, and just, it was almost, I hear it was really cool to watch.
So much of it too, and this plays into a lot of your guys' aura is the ritualism of the band, and kind of when you're talking about swaying back and forth in sort of like a chant way, and the candle and the jack bottle, and your guys' rallying before. Is that a thing that you cultivated, or it just became?
No, what's great is that it just sort of happened spontaneously. Our son Whedon went on our first Dead Moon tours in Europe and was doing our merchandise for us when he was in his early 20s. And Andrew never used the rack tom, or he had it at one point. He goes, man, I'm sick of carrying this thing around. I never smacked the thing anyway. So he lost that and went down to just 3 pieces. And there's a hole in the original Ludwig bass drum that he used. And at that point, Jack Daniels was all our preferred drink. So Whedon found an empty bottle, and just during a gig, he put it upside down in the hole. And on some other gig, Andrew shoved a candle on top of it. I don't remember how or why, but he just did, and it just became the thing. And the ritual became so important to the audience that there were different things that just added. He happened to do the water shot that we used to do on Johnny's Got a Gun by pure accident. I think it was BC, the crazy guy that made Fred's belt buckle. Through
wine on Andrew's
floor tom.
And Andrew didn't know it, he hit it.
Yeah.
It splashed up, and he thought he was bleeding all over.
Yeah, but in the lights, everybody goes, "Oh my God, you won't believe how cool that looks." He's like, "Shit," Yeah, no. But that was kind of the magic of the whole thing. Everybody thinks, "Oh man, they contrived it." No, it just kind of happened. And then once it did, everybody loved it so much that it just stuck. And Fred's very superstitious and loves the ritual anyway, so for him it's like, oh, we got to do that. I mean, like every time.
And the thing with the candle was just crazy. Everybody thought that we played until the candle burned out. We had one gig in Germany where these guys, or France, Bordeaux, whatever, anyway, these guys brought a candle that was about 3 feet tall and about a foot around. It took 2 guys to carry this thing in. It was so heavy. And they put it on stage and says, you play till the candle burns out, which would take about a month and a half. You know, it's like, oh, okay, that ain't happening, dude. Yeah.
Well, and at that point, our gigs were like 2.5 hours long. I mean, come on, you can only stand to do this, and you can only stand to listen so long.
Did you play to that candle or that candle?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was burning next to me, and what was even worse was this funky little club called Le Jimmy in Bordeaux, and these guys were smoking so much hash next to me, and it was one of these open floor gigs, and after about 20 minutes, I don't do that stuff, okay? After about 20 minutes, I've got the biggest contact high, and I'm like, whoa, what, you know, I didn't even think about what was going on until, you know, but yeah, it was a crazy gig. One of very many.
And what's the handshake at the beginning? That's part of the ritual too. Like that just began how? The handshake.
That was a forgiveness thing. Because Andrew and I were having some really gnarly arguments, and about why he was never around to carry equipment when we got done playing, and I would be so pissed, and I'd go, fine.
He's the drummer. It's the worst.
And I'd be so, I go, man, how? And he'd always walk in when the last piece was up, and he'd go, what happened? I go, dude, yeah, your timing is so bad, okay? So. Anyway, we'd get in these major arguments, and so that the next day, it was a forgiveness thing. So that every time we play, we do our handshake and say, "Okay, whatever happened last night, forget about it. We're back together." So that was kind of a forgiveness thing, and it became a ritual. And believe me, we needed to forgive each other every day for what we were saying to each other. Okay, it was like, oh, okay.
You guys made mention of playing in France and Germany, and you have a whole different fan base in Europe, like a really rabid one. Like what time did you go over there and you realized it, or like why do you think it is, or?
Well, we first went over in 1990, which was a really weird thing because they had a special 10th year anniversary at the Vera Club in Holland, in Groningen, which is up north. And they asked us back, and we just started going over there, and it just started going over like gangbusters. We're just right timing, I guess. It's the same time when Mudhoney and Tad and Nirvana and a lot of the Northwest bands were just starting to tour Europe and kind of get a big buzz. And we just happened to be a smaller part of that. And just built up a huge fan base. The coolest thing with Europe is that each country kind of has its own flavor as far as, the people that you meet and everything. But we still, to this day, have some really long-standing, hard-fast friends that we've made from those first 2, 3, 4 tours that we keep in touch with even now.
Your European label's in Germany, right?
Yeah, it was.
Well,
it used to be Music
yeah.
Maniac. Yeah, it's gone, but it was at that point, yeah.
And you may mention it was the kind of the time when the Northwest bands like Mudhoney and Tad, and a friend of mine was actually like, why didn't Dead Moon ever get co-opted so much within that scene? Like, do you feel like you commiserate with that scene in a way?
Well, we did. I mean, a lot of those
guys
guys came to all of our gigs when Dead Moon was early playing up in Seattle and whatnot, and we know most of them, and keep in touch with a couple of them. But it just the whole Sub Pop thing happened, and if you weren't on Sub Pop, you weren't going to get carted along.
Was that anything that was ever presented to you guys?
Well, we did a 45 and whatnot for them, but they were we're just not as completely as mainstream and as sellable as somebody like Soundgarden or Nirvana or Pearl Jam or whatever. I mean, we love Eddie and we've been good friends with him, but he's a smooth pop singer. Okay, now Fred's not that. No major label's ever gonna go for that.
So like when you were in Portland, like you've been in Portland, and you've obviously just what's Clackamas is like 25 miles outside or something like that. And as you've watched the Portland scene coming up, and like, what is your take on Portland? Because I have a few friends there, and they love Portland, but also love to make fun of it. It's like the butt of so many jokes. What's your take? What's your take on the city and the scene that you kind of grew up, that you helped cultivate and grow up with?
Well, from my standpoint, I've been lucky to see it at its peak twice. In the late '60s, and then again in the late '70s, early '80s with the punk rock thing. It cycles like every other rock scene. At this point, it's a bit low ebb. I think like probably every place is. And we've always kind of had this weird thing about Portland, Seattle, even since I was a kid growing up, because we've always been the smaller town. We're the pit stop in between Seattle and San Francisco, and there's no other reason to go there except it's in between. So, but the scene is still the scene. There's a lot of new clubs coming up, and at this point, I mean, Fred and I are quite removed from it. We really don't go and see new bands all the time like that, unless we're playing with them. So, but there's still a really active scene going on. There's a lot of new bands up and coming, and so it always seems to revitalize itself with the next generation or group of kids that come up, and have that for their lifestyle, and that be that important to them for the 5 or 10 years that's average that most guys play in bands. We're the exception to the rule. So, and because of that turnover, I think it's always constantly changing, and it has just a different face to it.
And didn't the simplicity of Dead Moon, in essence, just like only attribute to your like guys' enduring qualities for the most part?
I think so, and I just think that the connection that the three of us had really felt like family. And so that transcends, and so we make our fan base feel like they're part of our family, which they really are. And it's just, hey, what you see is what you get. There's no pretense about any of us.
I mean, I don't think it's any secret that you two are for as much as you've done, are just the most humble, like, awesome people. So, I mean, that's another.
No reason not to be. Ain't nothing special.
You are playing a couple of duo shows in Portland too, right? That we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. We're playing in a place that they call the Old Church because that's what it is, and they've been using it as kind of acoustic shows and smaller little shows. So we're going to be doing that on the 5th of December, and then we're going to play again as Dead Moon with our Pierce Arrows drummer Kelly Halliburton at the Crystal Ballroom, which has kind of become an annual thing. That first Saturday in after New Year's, so January 2nd. So we're really looking forward to that. And it'll be Fred's first time to see if he can still get up there and rock without passing out.
And that's right on my shoulder to where I can't stand,
Oh, okay.
Right here. So,
So how are you gonna work it then, Fred? Like,
I think it's gonna be okay, but I'm gonna duct tape like a potholder or something around the thing under my shirt, But no, I mean, it's like, the health thing was just such a drag. I mean, for 2 years now. I mean, I did open heart surgery, then I got done with that a year and a half ago, and then I did the thing in Seattle where, I passed out on stage right in the middle of our set, and the next thing I knew, I was in emergency, and I didn't even know anything had happened, really. Then I found out, they're going to do this pacemaker and all that crap, and I kept freaking out thinking, man, if they do that, it's every time I get excited or anything, I'm going to get zapped, So I thought, okay, I don't know if I want to do that or not, but these guys talked me into it. So I feel...
I mean, you can't really keep...
Yeah.
Like, you guys don't want to keep the band.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's no way you're not going to keep playing for
exactly.
as long as you humanly can. So.
That's what I want to do. So I think, I figure, all right, hey, if I drop dead on stage, hey, it's as good a place as any. Better than this room I had. I was in a room. They put me in this room where I had this other guy sharing the room with me. I've never heard a guy snore as loud as this guy. He sounded like a braying burro or a donkey or something like all for like, the guy was under some kind of sedation thing anyway, and then he'd roll over on his IV deal and shut that off, and this alarm would start going off, which is beep, 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 beep. I'm right next to this guy, and is in his bed, and he wouldn't wake up, and they'd take him like 15 minutes for the nurse to come in there, wake him up, get him to roll off his thing so they could get his alarm shut off. And, I'm putting up with that, okay? And then they bring in this crazy guy in another room that was right next to us they'd come in and they'd sedate him, and then about 20 or 30 minutes later, he'd wake up and start going, "You fucking motherfucker!" You could hear him all through the whole hospital, and it's like the guy's screaming off his nut. Everybody come in, give him a shot. He'd go back to sleep for 20 minutes, and then I'd hear my braying donkey buddy, and then he'd roll on this deal, and the alarm going off, and it's like, oh my God. And I was there for 5 days. Okay?
Not a fan.
And I'm telling you, man, I was like ready to get out of there. Toody, get me out of here. Oh God.
Well, we're glad you're doing well. You look great, like I said. And, thanks for coming. We're going to open the floor to a Q&A. So, in doing that, whoever wants to ask a question kind of has to walk up here and take my microphone. So, anyone? Actually, you don't even need my microphone. You can probably just yell it out. So if anybody has a question for Toody or Fred, please, by all means. Don't be shy.
How's Andrew doing?
Andrew's doing better. I'm really anxious to go and see him when we get home. Just been talking to him on the telephone. He had to go through, he had surgery in July to remove a cancerous lump in his throat. And then he had to go through 45 radiation treatments, which I know he just finished shortly before we left. So I know he's okay and he's doing all right because they had a big show that they did for him as a benefit at Vera, the club I was telling you about where Dead Moon first played in Europe, which was amazing. And they got him and his girlfriend over there, and one of our buddies from over there sent me a bunch of pictures that they took, and had himself one hell of a time. So if he's good enough to get back on the airplane, because that really bothers him, then I'm figuring he's doing okay. So hopefully he's going to be able to recover quite a bit more. I don't know if he'll ever be able to play drums and whatnot again, but at least he's up still walking around.
And we're doing a benefit for him on January, or sometime in January. We're doing, Toody and I are doing
a bunch of Portland bands,
Can you talk about your tour with Western Front?
Tour with Western Front?
Yeah.
You talking about me or?
Is it true you guys went through a bunch of ghost towns?
Oh! That actually wasn't Western Front. That's kind of the summer Fred was talking about earlier that we stayed down in Nevada, and it was a different little duo thing that we were doing at the time with an electric drum unit that we used to call Rolly. It was a Roland. Oh God. Piece of shit, state of the art at the time, but it was so hot down there. It was the middle of the summer, and the heat would just mess with this thing, and it would either slow down right in the middle of a song or speed up, and you'd have to kick it to get it back on the, on track. But we were just having fun and basically just taking a holiday away from all responsibilities, period, the store, the family, and everything, and just kind of reconnecting with one another. And just playing old country and rock and roll stuff, Stand By Your Man, Johnny Cash, Patsy Cline, early rock and roll, and just these funky little bars where Fred would go in and go, "Hey, you ever thought about having live music here?" In these dinky little towns all over Nevada and the gold mining country in California, and it was a blast. It was just another one of those adventures that really glad that we did, and. But yeah, that's what you're thinking of.
Kind of more a vacation with instruments.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, for us, everything's got to be a working vacation. You got to take your guitar wherever you go.
Well, not just because of work, right? But you never know where inspiration is. Inspired a lot of I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. What was that?
Was there an event or circumstance around Slav walking out like that?
He wants to know how you was there there a circumstance or some reason that you came up with the whole idea of walking on my grave?
Well, I was just feeling old at that point, and you know, I wrote that probably when I was getting close to 40. So I was kind of going through a thing where I thought, yeah, okay, and I didn't even think about New Kids on the Block was a band. When I wrote that song, I don't know. Everybody thought I wrote the song about the band called New Kids on the Block, but
Oh yeah, well, one of our European buddies.
yeah. And so yeah.
With New Kids on the Block under
Yeah.
a big brick and all this blood gushing out.
Yeah. So it was kind of a weird thing, but you know, it was basically I just felt at that point that I was too old to be playing rock and roll, and I was ready for the grave, you know. But obviously, I passed that.
At this point, it's almost funny because most of our friends in Portland that were in the early punk bands are all in their 40s now. Most of them pushing 50 or there already. And they kind of all went through that same thing, and they finally said, screw it, if you guys can do it, we can too. So they're all out there just doing their thing, which is great to see. Okay, sorry, John, what was that?
Oh, it wasn't really a question. I was just saying, you know, you're talking about taking your instruments on the road with you. So there's also the fact that you never know when inspiration may hit you. Hey, come on, dude, I got a great idea. Wake up, come on, you know.
Yeah, true. Not as much of that happens. The songs are coming quite a bit slower now. He's taking it easy. I mean, at this point, he's got so much material. But we are working on 2 or 3 newer songs that we're really aren't finished yet, but I'm really anxious to do in the duo thing that are going to be a trip.
I kind of had a little question.
Sure.
In terms of like, it seems like you guys have a pretty sustainable, like, healthy relationship and family life. I was just wondering, I've been playing music for a while now. I have a 13, going on a 14-year-old daughter, and did your kids, were they adverse to you guys playing music, or were they supportive, or do they, because I'll go on tour here and there, and this and that.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, I was telling my kid how I might be going out of town for a week or 2 in February. Yeah. And, sorry, I can't help but think that I'm like abandoning her or something like that. Whenever I've been on tour before, I always bring her back something from what visit.
That's a really tough one, and that's great to hear that from you as a dad. It really is. Like I say, we took our kids because we just did nothing but just West Coast shows. No on the road long touring, which is really tough. And even then, I mean, that's half the reason the Rats dissolved. At that point, our youngest was like 12. And there would be different weekends when we would go up to Seattle to play. And he's like, Mom, kid, do you really have to go? And the guilt's got to me. And which is what I'm hearing from you right now. So it's really, really, really hard. And it really is a time in their life where they really need you to be around a lot. So it's one of those weird decisions like, do you sacrifice your dream for what they're going to need and put it on hold and hope it's still there? Or kind of try to maintain that tightrope walk that you're going to have to do to be there enough. I mean, at least at this point, there's a lot more communication going on, whether you're emailing each other or texting, to where, maybe that'll help a little bit. But a lot of it, you really just need to kind of be there when they need you to be there. And the problem with touring is, I know you realize, months in advance, you've got to commit yourself. And so you've got these commitments. And if you get the rep that you cancel gigs, then it's like, you're pretty much done. So it's really a hard one. And a lot of times, if with a kid that age, you really can't let them know how you feel about it, and the fact that you do have these other obligations, and that you're just kind of caught in a hard place. They'll understand. They really will. I just be really honest and just really let them know how you feel, and just try to be there as much as you can. Try to maintain that balance, to where you're there for long stretches and gone for shorter.
She definitely is, and it's really easy. Like, she's excited and this and that, but more so for like my parents, her mom, everyone else, this and that. You kind of feel, there's still the stigma of being in a band that you're just kind of waiting.
That won't go away.
And what's crazy?
One thing that's really crazy about teenagers is that I learned is they want you around 24/7, and then as soon as you are, they ignore you, okay? And they don't want to know you, okay? Or you're an embarrassment, you know. They bring their friends over. I don't know that guy, you know, whatever. But as soon as you're gone, they act like, man, you're never here. You just never give me any, you know. So it's a no-win situation.
And it's the whole thing. She's probably incredibly proud of you, but embarrassed by you at the same time. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. Been there, done that.
And luckily, the band I've been in hasn't been so successful to where I'm not.
That's kind of what we always liked where we were. No, you get enough to satisfy you and your audience, and it's a great life, but it's not an obtrusive life, okay? You know, where it's all taken away from you, or you're so in despair because nothing's happening, you know. So it's the middle's a good place to be. Good luck. She'll grow up, and she's going to love you for a lifetime.
Great show, by the way. So I came straight from my grandpa's funeral. No, it's fine. It was actually very therapeutic and heartwarming. So thank you guys.
It's great to hear families that important to you.
Yeah.
You need that balance.
Well, same to you. It's an inspiration. Thank you.
Yeah,
Actually, the reason that we even came and did this duo thing is our daughter ran the New York Marathon. So and I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to play. So we had gigs lined up like 2 months ago, and we canceled all of them after I had to go in for the operation. So, but we had already planned on coming back and seeing her run the race and surprising her. So that's, you know, we called the agency just, about, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago and said, hey, can you guys line up some gigs? And they lined up these 5 gigs, so, you know, help pay for the way out, back, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, she did the marathon, and we saw her, and the whole thing was great.
Yeah, she just turned 48 this year. So that's still a good piece of work. Yeah, she's done Portland, I think, 3 times, and Boston once or twice, and now. But so she goes, yeah, it was great. I'm really glad that I did it, but I think I'm going to start going down to the half marathons now. She goes, the first 13 miles were awesome.
Toody and I ran the Portland Marathon on our 60th birthdays.
Did you?
Yeah, that was our ritual. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was my bucket list. And she beat me.
Of course I did.
Thanks, guys. Does anyone have anything else? I think we're going to probably wrap it up. We have another storytelling hour to go. If you want to speak, Anna?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, you guys. That was really great. That was like the most insightful storytelling. Great. It was really great. So we are wrapping up. Nobody else has any questions? This is your last chance. Matt, did you have a question? Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Today we have a double. At 4:30 we have Henry Kupjak, who actually made all of these miniature rooms that you see.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's really great. So he has a lot of the miniature rooms in the Art Institute, and he's going to talk about his process. Yeah, stick around. 2 big headers today. Awesome. Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed our stories for today. Each episode features compelling stories and interviews from some of the most interesting and inspiring movers, shakers, innovators, and adventurers. Hosted fireside in the hotel's drawing room, each event includes 1 hour storytelling followed by a Q&A and is made available in our audio library. Please visit chicagoathleticevents.com for information on upcoming storytelling events and to listen.